So we are very happy to be here with Louis Birdman, who is the developer of 1000 Museum. Louis, welcome. Thank you so much for accepting.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to be part of the show and part of our Miami new construction web series. I will ask Louis about his amazing project, which is 1000 Museum. Louis, would you be so kind to tell me a little bit about yourself? Tell me about your background. What is your profession originally, and how did you come to this idea to get 1000 Museum?
Well, I've lived in South Florida for nearly 40 years. I moved here from Philadelphia as a teenager, and I was educated as an architect here in the state of Florida. I attended University of Florida and University of Miami, graduated from locally, and I've always been involved in architecture and real estate development throughout my professional career.
So you are an architect, and then you had this passion for the real estate. So
yeah, I moved away from architecture in the late 90s and started getting involved in real estate development throughout the state of Florida and elsewhere in the United States. And when the market started to come back a few years ago, we started to look for some interesting development opportunities here in Miami. And we had known of this site where we're building 1000 Museum here at 10th and Biscayne for some time. And it was a site that was very difficult to assemble. It was actually owned by 2 property owners. And we were able to convince both property owners at the same time to sell the property. We always viewed this site as probably one of the most important skyscraper sites in Miami, where it's situated. It's really the last opportunity to develop a super tall building directly on Biscayne Bay, overlooking Museum Park, which has gone through this incredible transformation, over the last 10 to 12 years, from what used to be Bicentennial Park to what's now Museum Park with 2 world-class museums.
Beautiful. So you have been on the right time, in the right moment to do something which is so beautiful and unique. How did you come to the idea to build this project, and how did you meet Zaha?
Well, look, because of the importance of this site and because it didn't get developed in the last cycle, we saw an opportunity on this site to do something different. We could have developed, like many of the other condo developers here in Miami, we could have actually developed by right 500 units on the site. We chose to do a much limited number, more limited edition, only 83 units in the same space that we would have normally built 500. And we thought that in order to do something like that, we needed a very special architect to take on such a project. And Zaha was the first on our list and the first person that we talked to, not knowing if she would even accept the commission to do a tower in Miami. And fortunately for us, she was very happy to do it, to be able to do a building in this location of this prominence overlooking Museum Park, which she had competed for the Science Museum previously, and did not win the commission to do the Science Museum. So I think it was also an interesting opportunity for her. She was very familiar with the site and the location, being that she spends a lot of time in Miami, and to be able to do a building which is now essentially the centerpiece of Museum Park was I think a good opportunity for her and very fortunate for us.
So in this case, you were also coming in the right moment. So yes, this is just meant to be really the project of like the dream location. Timing. Exactly, beautiful. So when you take this project, what were the major criteria that you were telling Zaha that what do you want, what did you dream to this lab?
Well, we wanted to create something that was, again, very unique for Miami. We didn't want the typical Miami condo building that was stacks and stacks of balconies where all the units look very much the same. We wanted something a lot more dynamic, a lot more artful, and that's why we chose Zaha at the top of our list. We really wanted to create a museum quality building. That's kind of where the name came from, being in the center of Museum Park. And the criteria is that we really wanted to have a very limited number of units all very similar in size and price. In terms of, we only have 4 types of units in the building. We have 4 townhomes that are duplex units that are each half a floor on 2 stories. We have 70 half-floor units that all range between about 4,600 and 4,800 square feet. The townhomes are 8,000 square feet. And then we have 8 full-floor units in the building, which are all roughly 10,000 square feet. And then we have a duplex penthouse, which is about 16,000 square feet. And we wanted to create a lot of amenities and high level of service within the building. So we decided that rather than putting the penthouse at the very top level of the building, we actually created a penthouse lobby, an amenity at the top of the building. So the very top of the building is actually for everybody. And then the building is topped with a helipad. We wanted to be the first building in Miami to have a private residential helipad for use of our residents. So that was something else unique, which required us to do things that are typically not done in Miami, where all the mechanical equipment is all up on the roof. We had to make space so that we could actually design the roof to accept a helipad. So a lot of the mechanicals that would typically be on the roof of the building are actually lower in the building.
So you were also making this technically as a challenge, not just as an external beauty, but also something which is adding as an architect.
And then Zaha and her solution made it even further a technical challenge by basically creating the structure or the exoskeleton of the building and pulling all the structure to the outside of the building. So again, we could conceal the balconies within the structural framework of the building, and it actually opened up the plans so that we have these very wide open plans with not a lot of interior columns. So it made for some very dynamic space, but it's also made for a lot of challenges in the construction of the building.
That's beautiful. Actually, this is the building of challenges, challenging the architect, challenging the engineers, challenging and also the buyers, I assume.
Well, it's a very international building. I mean, the design, I mean, we have an architect who is Iraqi born, but practices in London and does work all over the world. The form work that we're using to create these forms for the structure are actually being manufactured in Dubai. Our glass is coming from Latin America. So I mean, the components of the building are coming from around the world. The architecture is from around the world, and our buyers are from around the world. We have a very international building. It's not the typical Miami condo profile.
Actually, Miami is very international, but you are using actually these opportunity that we are in the middle, like central of between US and also the South American region, so you can source different things, but the building itself is very unique and beautiful. So if I would ask you that, what is the best feature, what you like in this building? What makes you the most passionate about this building? What would you say?
Well, I think the sculptural nature of the building is the most exciting part about it. The columns move throughout the building. They create this like sinuous curves that go from the base of the building. The building has this very grounded base where the lobby and the parking structure is, and then it sort of sculpts in and forms into the tower, and it's a very continuous curves. That's the most exciting part of the building.
So the external look.
Yeah, the external, which is the strongest feature of the building.
I love architecture, and I'm sure that you are traveling all over the world. Do you have anyone who is like your dream architect besides Zaha Hadid? So who would be your role model?
Probably my favorite architects from when I studied architecture were Frank Lloyd Wright. Very dynamic for his time. Carlos Scarpa, Italian architect, did some very interesting things. Modern day. I mean, certainly Zaha is probably one of the most unique, distinctive architectural designers in the world today. So to be able to work with someone with that talent is certainly a pleasure.
I love architecture, and like for example, for me, Gaudi is
Gaudi is obviously, there's a lot of influences, I would imagine, in Zaha's work. You know, there's definitely a lot of influences in her work from Gaudi. But it's such a different period in time. The fact that, you know, if you think about what Gaudi did in the period of time that he did it, with a whole different level of technology. I mean, without the use of computers and things that you know, Zaha has at her disposal, which someone like Gaudi didn't. It's pretty amazing, the forms that they created.
So I had a good feeling that Gaudi had a little bit, like a little influential, because it's beautiful, you know. I'm from Europe and I love the architecture in Europe, but Gaudi is something which is number one. So when we are talking about the building itself, I just want to ask you a little bit about your background, and how many buildings you built, or what was your previous buildings?
Well, I've been involved in over 70 condo projects throughout the United States. New buildings, redevelopment of existing buildings. Here in Miami, I was involved in 3 other high-rise condominium towers. And my partners in this project, my co-developers, actually developed the building that we're in right now, where our office is in 10 Museum Park. One of my other partners was just involved in the completion of Regalia. He was also involved in Paramount, Four Seasons Tower as well. Our group has been involved in a lot of condominium development, mixed-use developments, and you know, several high-rise towers.
This gives a lot of confidence for the buyers, because, you know, if they have any question that, oh my God, this is this beautiful building, but how is this going to be built?
High-rise projects are complicated. You know, they're very complicated, and they involve a lot of coordination, and it takes a lot of people and a lot of effort to bring a project like this to fruition. I mean, this project is 3 years already in the making. And then, you know, it's nearly another 3 years to build it, and, you know, it's a project, you know, we'll be involved from beginning to end, you know, 8-10 years. So.
When is the expected completion date?
The expected completion is early 2018.
So do you know how you're going to celebrate the completion already?
No, I haven't figured that out yet.
So when we are talking about buyers, I would be interested, what is your opinion, like, currently? What are the advantages of Miami? How you are selling Miami for your buyers?
Well, Miami sells itself to a great extent. You know, we have great weather. It's become a very international city. You know, people come from all over the world to Miami. People used to come to Miami more as a playground, and it was never a place for serious business. But obviously it became a serious financial center for Latin America. In the last couple waves of development, you know, as you know, we've got, you know, hundreds of you know, Latin American banks that are based here in Miami. Now with the expansion of the port, to be able to take the, you know, the Panamax freighters that are coming in here, has also been a big plus for people who are looking to do business in Miami. The creation of the tunnel to the port, actually removing a lot of the cargo traffic out of downtown Miami, has now made it a much more pleasurable place to be. So it will improve Miami so it can become more of a walking city. This area here, where we are, the Museum Park area, is really the last area of downtown Miami to develop. So with our building, which is sort of the last direct waterfront piece overlooking the bay, and then behind us with the development of Miami World Center, you know, which is, you know, bringing, you know, shopping and more office and more condo. It's a very exciting time, you know, in downtown Miami, and we're seeing buyers from really all over the world, not just Latin America. You know, people think of Miami as predominantly the buyers are coming from Latin America, and that's just hasn't been the case for at 1000 Museum. We have as many buyers that come out of other parts of the world as we do from Latin America.
Yeah, the project is very famous. I even heard about the project from Europe. Someone was telling me that, oh, you know, have you seen this beautiful project?
Yeah, no, we have you know, owners that have purchased that are, from places that typically have not bought in Miami before. We have several buyers that this is actually their first purchase in not just Miami, but their first purchase in the States. From countries that we just haven't seen before. So from that perspective, the building has drawn a lot of attention, obviously because of our architect, because of the uniqueness of the building, and we're seeing buyers from the Middle East, the Far East. We're seeing buyers from all over Europe.
So this means that we are raising the bar, we are elevating Miami's experience.
Absolutely.
So this is going to be kind of like a destination project for the tourists, for the interested parties.
We're seeing buyers again out of Mexico, which we hadn't seen for a while. There was a drop off of a lot of buyers who had bought previously from Mexico. We're now seeing a lot of buyers from Mexico and other, and then into South America. So, and domestic buyers. I mean, we have buyers from all over the United States as well.
Nice.
California, New York.
So the unique
Chicago.
Project and the quality is pulling in the interest from all over the world, which is something beautiful. And I think this is one of the best features of Miami, that we have such a unique, circumstances, like location-wise, being between in the U.S. and also South America, but also the uniqueness of the city with the weather, with the transportation, and all the circumstances. How do you see the buyers? How the attitude of the buyers is changing? Do you see anything which, like for example, you have never asked before, and now they are asking because these buyers are different type, like ultra wealthy buyers?
Well, I think what's happening is, buyers from outside the United States still see the United States as a very stable place to invest large sums of money. And one of the easiest ways for them to invest money in the United States is to invest it in real estate. If they're not going to open up a business here and operate a business here and then make an investment in business, real estate's a very easy point of entry. And again, it's somewhat easy to trade in and out of. If someone needs currency, they can sell real estate to get currency. And as you see different troubles in different economies in different parts of the world at different times, you actually see movements of money out of those countries into the United States. And if you're going to be making investments in real estate, again, if it's residential real estate and not commercial real estate or industrial real estate, there's probably only a few places that people are making those investments. They're making those investments in certain parts of California, in South Florida, and in New York.
Yeah, these are the three cities that
those are the right. And as New York continues to get more and more expensive, cost of ownership and cost of keeping property, Miami becomes more and more attractive. But what's happened over time is a lot of the developers, as you see in Miami, have also raised the bar with level of design. So you don't have to go to New York to get what would be considered the highest quality of development. And you're seeing that in Miami with buildings like ours and some of the other buildings that have been developed here in the recent times.
Yes, and I love this. I'm so passionate about Miami, and these are the little pieces when you can be even more proud of the city where you are building and where you are at. I would like to ask you a little bit about how do you see the economy, and especially like when we have these beautiful events in Miami. We have Art Basel, we have Boat Show, we have Food and Wine Festival, we have Ultra maybe, and also we have Miami New Construction Show, which is the real estate show for the city and attracting the projects from all over South Florida. How do you see the effect? How do you see the impact for sales, for attraction on your building or your case, and what do you see the future of these events? Are they necessary? Are they bringing more traffic? Or what's
I think they are. I mean, look, they all help with the brand of Miami, and when I say Miami, I mean Miami Beach, Sunny Isles, all of what the rest of the world thinks of as Miami, even though they're different. They're different areas. But I think all of those things help with the brand of Miami. I mean, one of the things that's probably been the most impactful has been Art Basel. I mean, Art Basel has brought, art collectors from around the globe to Miami. I guess it's now their 11th year, I believe. So, I mean, it's something, and each year gets bigger and bigger. And the places that it draws from are, you know, very vast. And bringing people here to Miami, they have a good time. You know, they see what we have to offer, not just in real estate, but, you know, in other sectors of business. You have tech companies moving here. You have hedge funds moving here. You have all kinds of different businesses that are moving into Miami because it is really becoming more of a global city. You know, they realize that we do have it. We're not just nightclubs and beaches. I mean, we have art, we have culture, we have neighborhoods. And, you know, I think these types of shows, real estate shows, Art Basel, boat show, all of those things help to define the Miami brand, and people come here, you know, time and time again.